So who is watching who? Are we being watched? Are you watching people? Am I watching people? I think everybody watches each other. Who are the watchers? We have to be careful of what people are doing outside ourselves. And we have to watch what we're doing with ourselves and with other people. So we have to kind of watch ourselves. And also look out for our brothers and sisters that are out there, hopefully in the work, doing the work. But also those that aren't in the work. Watching them is kind of difficult because we want to judge them, but we shouldn't be. And remember that Gurdjieff says we need to do external considering and internal considering. You know, external considering of considering how other people are being and why they're being like they are. Internal considering of how you're being or I'm being and how I'm reacting or you're reacting, and whether we're reacting or should we be acting is what we should be doing. We should be acting on situations and not reacting. But the problem with all this watching is that it can get quite paranoid. There's so many conspiracy theories out there and different thoughts as to what this universe is all about and how this planet's running and whether there's a cabal in charge that's trying to keep everybody down, you know, possibly led by the dark forces, which it would be if they're trying to keep us away from the divine. Do we have archangels watching over us? Is there an angel or a guardian at your side trying to keep you safe, but also on the right path? Do you have your daemon, as they used to say in the olden days, a daemon to keep you, again, on the right path? Is it a higher version of yourself, or is it another being that's sent to work with you? And these are all things that maybe we should be pondering about if we're on the work. I can't remember now if it was Socrates or Plato that had a daemon. I think it was Socrates that he used to talk to and guide him and used to give him good advice and such like. Now that's would be nice to have. You know, we all come into this world, we feel like we're on our own. But if we're finding our way to a divine source, working on ourselves to a higher essence, then we can get in touch with these higher beings, whether it's our higher selves, which is what I'm trying to aim towards, contacting my higher self, or whether it's a higher angel, a higher guardian angel to guide you on your path. You know, they're guardians of your soul, or a guide for your soul. But if we're working on ourselves, then that's the way we should be aiming towards our higher self. But there will also be people out there that will think they know what's right and what's best for you. And you have to judge for yourself when you meet these kinds of people. Do they make me feel good? Or are they trying to, put me down all the time, make me feel crappy? Do I come away with a strange feeling in my solar plexus that doesn't feel comfortable? We want to be with people that are comfortable. Some people are here to test us. I wouldn't know who are the greatest teachers that are alive today to go towards, but I'm sure there are teachers out there that you will find that you resonate with. And I think that's the important word of resonating with people. Is there such a word as resonation? I don't know. But I'm sure that teachers or people that may be on a slightly higher level than us must get frustrated when we don't expand ourselves or develop ourselves perhaps to their ability. I've said before in past shows about Krishnamurti, for example, the one that was chosen to be the New World teacher and then by the Theosophy Society, and then after a few years he decided he didn't want to be a world teacher because that's not what the world needs. Everybody has to find the world teacher within themselves. And he must have found it frustrating because he had got to a certain level, and maybe he didn't meet many other people that were at that level, but to be asked the same questions by different students for years and years and years and feel like they're not seeing it. because they couldn't seem to quite work on themselves to that next stage. You know, I find it frustrating for myself that I feel like I'm not progressing, but then a few months later I'll look back on myself and think, yeah, I have progressed, but obviously a lot slower than Krishnamurti did. And it's the same for all of us. We need to obviously ask questions. It's one of the most important things. Ponder on things. And hopefully it will go down into the answers into our subconscious that will then bring them back up into our conscious. I did a few shows on the Grail quests, and that again is one of the most wonderful myth stories, legends that have all secret, well, no, not secret, but esoteric teachings in them that are there for those that can see them. But again, it's not as black and white as we think. We need to read deeply into them and let the Grail myths ponder on us. And if you remember that Parzival he made it to the Grail castle, but he didn't ask the question, so he didn't get told the next thing. Though he did ask the question in a later journey, but go and read them stories. But what we do need to do is to be aware of what we ourselves are doing. We're kind of like watching ourselves and hopefully watching each other and be here for each other. And not get too caught up in the whole what's going on with this real world. Well, not this real world as in the real world should be us awake, but this world, someone was calling it the shadow world the other day, and I quite like that. The world of the rat race, and when we're not awake and getting caught up in government, issues and such like. That shadow world, who knows who's really running it? And I used to be very concerned about we need to find the answers. But maybe with a spiritual soul path, that's not a number one priority. But that's down to the individual. Maybe we are the ones, or you are the one that will find out who is really running the world and be able to, reveal them if there is satanic agendas. But one of the important things is to always keep a watch out for the watchers. And I'm just going to read a bit of Gurdjieff, page 254. Of All and Everything, and Beelzebub has arrived in Tibet and he's with various people. And he's talking about making camp, but I think this could relate a lot to the everyday world. So he's talking about there's lots of wild beasts hanging around their campsite, and so I shall read from page 254. These wild beings, particularly the smallest of them, were at that time already also, of course, owing to the abnormally established conditions of the ordinary being existence of the free-brain beings there, perfected as regards apprehendingness and cunning up to the ideal. In consequence of this, all along this second route of ours, we, and especially our workmen for the semi-conscious work, had to be extremely watchful and alert at night in order to guard ourselves, our quadruped beings, and our supplies. A whole gathering of these wild beings would form round our camp at night, having come there to provide themselves with something suitable for their first food. A meeting rather like an assembly of your favourites during what is called the quotation of stock prices, or during their election of representatives to some society or other, the nominal purpose of which is the joint pursuit of a means to the happy existence of all beings like themselves, without distinction of their notorious castes. Although we kept logs burning brightly all night, excuse me, I'm going to cough. Although we kept logs burning brightly all night to scare these wild beings, and although our biped workers, notwithstanding that they were forbidden, destroyed with the help of the, as they are called, poisoned arrows of El Naparia, those beings that came too near our camp, yet not a single night passed upon which what are there called tigers, lions, and hyenas, that did not carry off one or more of our quadruped beings, the number of which in consequence diminished daily. And I'm going to end the quote there. And maybe we can have a little ponder on that. of relating it to the real world, as he says there, about how the outside world, the shadow world, tries to steal us away from doing the work. The outside world is like them tigers and hyenas and lions that he's talking about. So we have to put a guard up and keep a watch out. But most important of all, keep a watch on your soul.